Welcome back. It's Instigating with Clarkey and Drury, and there's a lot to touch on today. It's a big day for a certain someone on the show, okay? So we'll touch on that. We'll discuss it. We will discuss it, all right? But we're very excited because, look, we got another great special guest, and obviously CFL fans and really everybody that covers the league are abuzz right now over the big announcement, over some major rule changes that are coming to the Canadian Football League. And Clarkey, man, who don't you know? You've hooked us up again. We've got a great guest coming on here. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very pleased to welcome on a man who is a Grey Cup champion with the Toronto Argonauts. He's a Lou Heyman Trophy winner, a two-time CFL All-Star in 1986 and 1991, a CFL East All-Star, and the CFL single-season points record in 1991 with 236. And ladies and gentlemen, he also happens to be the all-time leading scorer for our boatman. That's right, our boatman. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on to the show, Lance Chomyc. Ladies and gentlemen, Lance, how are you, my friend?
Fantastic, Drury. What an intro. It's not bad for an old guy, right?
You're not that old.
The show's over. There was so many accolades there.
Absolutely. Well, Lance, I'm really excited to have you on the show. Like I said off the hop, there's a lot to dig into here. And obviously, let's start with a man who has certainly caused a big stir, and that's this gentleman, Stuart Johnston, the CFL commissioner, just a year into his tenure now. And he announced some major rule changes for the CFL. And let's dig into a few of them that are highlighted. Obviously, they're going to move the goalposts to the back of the end zone. That won't be until 2027. Same with shortening the end zone from 20 to 15 yards deep. So still not NFL regulation, which is 10. They're going to go to 15. They're going to shorten the field, get rid of the 55-yard lines. It'll be a true 100. But next year, they're going to modify the Rouge. They're going to have an automatic 35-second play clock, which is a rule that I'm a huge fan of that. And they're also going to modify the team benches so that the benches are on opposite sides. I'll leave that up there for everybody to get a look at. But as we go over that, Lance, what are your opinion on these rule changes?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I think the status quo in the CFL has always been one of kind of scrambling, kind of hanging on, worried about maybe we're losing 1,800 season ticket holders in every given market, which team is in trouble. That always seems to be the ongoing narrative, almost for an entire generation, for the last couple of generations. And something has to evolve in order for the league to remain healthy. I mean, yes, it's got its unique personality. We don't want to lose that. That's why we are in love with it. And as far as I'm concerned, these new rules address keeping the CFL in its overall capacity, the game that we know and the game that we love. I mean, Copeland the other day was just talking about when he first came to the CFL and saying, what? It's 65 yards wide? Oh, what? I can move any direction I want in the backfield? There's no human being that can cover me, right? He was so excited about that. And that's essentially, those are the things that are not moving. And do we have our 12 men? 100%. Do we have our 65 yards wide? 100%. I mean, I love the look of 12-man football. You've got two receivers. You got two in the backfield. You got your quarterback. You got your O-line. I love the balanced feel of what's going on that allows the entire field to be a canvas upon which these guys can work. None of that is changing. You've got the yard off of the ball. That's fantastic. You're not going anywhere near that fair catch situation. You still have the no yard situation, and every kick is to be returned. That is great. The Rouge, even though they're talking about the elimination of it from the missed field goal standpoint, and I do understand it. And as a kicker, I've got pretty strong opinions about that. But now it's an active play. Now it's something where there's a decision to be made because it's a strategy situation. And kickers have got tremendous talent nowadays. If you look at the way the punters are able to try to get those punts with that reverse spin on it nowadays, as opposed to a straight spiral punt going up there, kickers now are much better on a field goal situation and a kickoff situation, dropping the ball in certain spots over there to have the ball die in the end zone, to have a returner be forced to make a decision. Do I want the yards or am I giving up the Rouge? That is unique with the CFL. That's not going to change. And, of course, the unlimited motion, all of these things that we know and love are there. And to me, that's the essence of the league, and especially with the width of the field. So I see a lot of upside in terms of these things. And there's been hue and cry before. I mean, change is always uncomfortable for people, and especially when you're involved in it. I mean, I do cut Nathan Rourke some slack because he is in the middle of the fight right now. He's worried about winning next week's game and trying to process change and everything. I mean, you look at Mark Killam, the head coach of the Edmonton Eskimos. He was a little bit hesitant because his brain's not there yet. And again, I cut these guys a lot of slack. They are working hard. They are in the fight right now. In the off season, they're going to sit back and they're going to say, hey, what are the opportunities we can create with this entire situation as the game is evolving right now? And I think that these are going to be some really great positive things that are going to allow coaches to stretch their imaginations a little bit, allow players to do things that they have been able to do in the past, and to allow fans to talk about it. I mean, I'm here in Edmonton with my parents, who are both 83 years old. Guess what the number one topic of conversation was at breakfast this morning? And it certainly wasn't driven by me. And I mean, we're talking about career Edmonton Elks, season ticket holders, that this is what 83-year-olds in Edmonton are talking about. So I think nothing is wrong in that scenario.
So you don't subscribe to the theory that we're going American here. This is the beginning of the Americanization of the game. Before long, you're going to see 4 downs.
If I heard anything at all about shortening the width of the field at all, or going towards a 4-down situation, you bet alarm bells would be flying off for me over here. Look, the elimination of the rouge on the missed field goal. I mean, yes, I do get the idea that that's always been a running joke in the CFL.
Yeah.
Have to reward for failure, correct?
Right.
But the plays, I mean, think of last week, the play that it created, right? The opportunity that missed field goal and that return from near the back of the end zone is created. Was an incredible play, probably the play of the week last year. Selfishly, I was on the wrong end of one of those in the 1987 Grey Cup. Where I put a kick right over top of the goalpost in BC Place. And Gizmo takes it 10 yards deep in the end zone. And next thing you know, it's myself, probably the slowest human being on the chasing Gizmo with Olympic level speed for the last 50 yards over there in the Grey Cup game for the longest, missed field goal return for a touchdown in the Grey Cup. That was TSN's number 9 play of the decade in the 1980s. So I get how that's a very cool and unique thing. Well, that's still in play on a short field goal, especially on a longer field goal right now that's short. That returns capability is still exists. So that part is good. And like I was saying before, change, people are uncomfortable, but every time we've had that, it's like, did that actually happen? Like, because we've forgotten about it. In 1986, my second year in the league, they decided, the poor quarterbacks coming in from the States, their hands can't quite get around the good old Spalding J5E ball, right? So they went to Spalding, guys, can you tone down the ball a little bit? And of course, kickers were all upset because those big fat old J5Es, they stayed in the air forever. Watching Hank Kalisic punt one of those things was insane. That was an inhuman act. That ball never came down. And suddenly that ball got a little bit smaller, and then 10 years later, or in 95, they finally went from Spalding to Wilson, and just went full NFL dimensions with the ball. But they brought that ball down. That was going to be the end of the world. Our kickoffs used to be at the 45-yard line, 65 yards to get to the goal line. So the goal line was a realistic target as a kicker to kick the ball to. Maybe if you got wind, you could pin the guy in a little bit deeper. Now suddenly they moved it all back over here where every kickoff could be returned. It's like, wow, we're kicking into a void now. That kind of takes away the skill and the drama of that over there. We got through that. That's no problem. The end zones, changing the end zones. Drury, you're talking about going from 20 down to 15. When I started, the end zones were 25. We had a 160-yard canvas over there. We had 25-yard of end zones on either side, plus the 110 yards in the middle. So, you couldn't fit that in most places that had a track. Logistically, you're always cutting off the back corner of the end zone. It always looked a little bit wacky.
Which is the way it still is at McGill, and in Toronto, the end zones are only 18 now anyway.
Because of the way the field is
Right.
for TFC. So, the conspiracy theorists might want to turn around and say, hey, is Toronto driving this decision because you can fit 15 yards end zones in there, but nobody else, right?
Yeah.
But aside from that, I mean, we went from 25 down to 20. Oh, my goodness, what's going to happen? No big deal, right? Hash marks. What do? We decided to bring the hash marks in from where they were before. We brought them in, for 4 yards on either side. That's going to change the whole. Does anybody remember that? Say for some blacked out hash mark kind of thing. So yes, we've had these particular changes over the convert. I'm so proud of the fact that I was 412 out of 414 in my career for converts.
And how far were they though?
From 12 yards away.
Right.
I could have done that left-footed, to be perfectly honest.
No wonder you're the leading scorer.
So, and the two misses, one of them, I'm not going to throw my holder on the bus, but I will say when a ball is placed sideways on a tee, it's a little bit tougher to get it over the line of scrimmage. So now they moved that back to 32 yards. So we've had changes in the CFL. We've changed the field. We've got, how many rules have we changed in terms of safety? Remember when you're tackling, boom, crown of the head, through the guy's sternum, lead with your head, bull your neck. All that's out the window, and the game's not the same. They've softened everybody up. The hits are just as hard. Everything is just so. I think yes, there will always be an initial reticence and pushback on the changes. But I think what's the essence of the game? When we see all those things that we listed about what the essence of the game was, the width, the motion, the yard off, the no fair catch, all of these kinds of things, that is a 12-man. That is what makes me think that this is moving in a terrific direction.
Ryan, can you put the rule changes up there again?
Absolutely.
And I just wanted to ask Lance about a couple that are directly going to impact kickers.
Absolutely.
Okay, so moving those goalposts back, first of all, it's going to add 15 yards to every field goal attempt now. And how annoying was it to have those goalposts right in the middle of the field? I know you weren't throwing the ball, but did the quarterbacks, consciously try to avoid those all the time?
It was, what? Okay, well, if we're talking about the kicking, yes. Okay, so now, the new math is add 22, right? So wherever the ball happens to be on the field, right? If you're on the 20, you're thinking it's a 42-yard field goal. Holy
wow.
Smokes. You got to get down to the 20 for that 42. So now it's the 30 now is a 52-yard field goal, and that's decision time now.
That is huge
for a lot of guys. So in terms of, hey, is that going to create a lot more? And put it this way: you're down to the 35-yard line. Okay, are you going to try to pooch a 25-yard punt to try to drop it inside the 10-yard line for the change of field position?
No.
Or are you going to go for it on third?
You're going to go for it now,
and that is.
Right.
That is the sort of the no-brain, positive, exciting, offensive, impetus that this kind of change is going to create. Everybody now, every single play, because of the loss of the extra 10 yards in the middle of the field, every single play is going to start 10 yards closer to the goal line. Right? You're automatically starting that way. Yes, as kickers, it's a bummer. We're not really going to get engaged until the ball hits the 30.
You're going to hold that record forever now.
What's that?
You'll hold that Argo record forever now.
He probably will.
It's gonna be tough for the young bucks, that's for sure. But you know what? You look at the kids these days, and you see what's happening, and 52-yard field goals these days are the old 32-yard field goals. These kids are hitting 55, 58. They don't think twice about it, and which brings me to the decision making in last week's Argo game, which I don't even want to talk about at the very end over there when you theoretically
kick
were
a field goal with
range. Hand it off. Even if you get nowhere, at least you put it in on your kicker's foot, give yourself a chance. The only thing you can't do is throw a pick. And
there was a couple of weird decisions in that game.
Let your quarterback have the ball in his hands, right?
Yeah.
So that's an offensive coordinator kind of situation where you just got to work with what situation you're in there. So aside from that, it's. The kickers will live. It's all going to be just fine, and it's going to be great. And they are going to do their job, and they're getting younger and they're getting stronger as life should evolve. And they're going to be able to turn around and say, "Hey, get me to the 35. I can hit a 57, and let's get there." And that's what it should be.
Yeah, I agree. Well, and I'm glad that you referenced this because this was something that I wanted to highlight as well, Lance. And that's Nathan Rourke, who was very vocal about his opinion of the new rules when asked about them. I have some of his quotes here, courtesy of Farhan Lalji of TSN. Rourke began his press conference, which got a lot of attention in this country, and for good reason. He began by saying he thinks the new rules are garbage all the way around. I'll just read this to you verbatim. Rourke, who is a former most outstanding Canadian, called the rule changes, quote, garbage, and was incensed with the fact that the players were not consulted with the changes that will go into effect over the next 2 seasons. Rourke was quoted as saying, quote, I, as many people did, fans, people who play in this league, grew up watching the CFL and loving the game. I was aware of and a fan of the NFL, but I was a fan of the CFL because of its notable differences. I went down to the States, proud of the game, being able to explain the differences, the waggle, the yard, the extra person. These are things that are unique about the game, which aren't leaving the game, by the way, if I can interrupt his quote. Rourke said he's also worried about the possibility the CFL begins to mirror the NFL too much, pointing to the failure of recent leagues in the U.S. that have tried to do that. He said, quote, from recent history in years past, leagues that tried to emerge and be like the NFL haven't existed for very long. The CFL game has existed for longer than the NFL, which is true. And there's a reason for that. It's unique. Fans love it. I grew up loving this game, and they're changing that, and they're giving up a lot of things. Lance, when you hear those comments, and I know you would have heard them right when Nathan said them, and it caused, quite a stir. For good reason. That's one of the best players in your league. Really slamming down on the commissioner and the owners. And he also took aim at them, saying, again, we weren't consulted about this. The owners are doing this. When you hear something like that from Nathan Rourke, what did you think?
I understood his passion. I have 100% empathy for where he's coming from in making those comments. There's no question that as a Canadian, he's had to be the face going down through his NFL experience and coming back through here and being the highest paid player in the league and being, our number one person that you see in a commercial immediately for any CFL game. That's a lot. That comes with a lot of pressure, and that comes with a lot of responsibility. So I do understand his passion for saying that. And he's in, like I said, he's in the fire right now. He's in the fight. He's trying to get through to the playoffs right now and see what's happening over there. This is important to him. And right now is not the time for him to be thinking about and justifying and rationalizing any kind of changes. In the big picture, taking the 10,000 foot view over top of things, and the lovely buffer that experience and age can kind of give our generation looking at these kinds of changes. You can understand that kind of passion, but you also have to understand that this is a game that has to take its steps forward, and we've got a person, as with Stuart Johnston over here, who was able to come in and very, very quickly, with the blessings of the Board of Governors, create this change. And we're talking about a unanimous consent by the Board of Governors when these changes were presented. And you're right, players weren't consulted. And you try to consult all of these players, and you're going to have as many players as there are. You're going to have that many different opinions. And if you want to get something done, as you guys well know, and as experience has taught us, sometimes the biggest committees in the world may well be the most inefficient types of systems in order of allowing you to perform tasks and create change and execute plans. And this was kept tightly to the vest between the major stakeholders that were there, the Board of Governors and the Commissioner. They came up with it as players. Wherever the ball is placed, wherever we have to go from, let's go play. This is what we just do, and this is what our coaches tell us to do for next year. That's not, I think, our job to worry about that sort of stuff. Our job is to give us a game plan, coach. Let's see what we're going to do.
Why do you think the game is still struggling in Toronto?
Still struggling in Toronto. What was it? Weekend before last? let's go. I want to get to Toronto because I don't know. There's a Lady Gaga concert. Oh, on the same day that there's an Argo game. Oh, on the same day that there was a Blue Jay matinee. Wait a second. The GO train isn't working between Burlington and Oakville, and it's one of 32 things to do on a Friday night in Toronto, on a Saturday evening in Toronto, and quite frankly, there's so much there that it's a split, divide, and conquer. Whereas you go to other markets, such as Regina, such as Winnipeg, when the CFL game there, that is the focus of that city for that day or the day before and the day after kind of deal. You have a chance to go ahead and do this. This has been, sadly, the bugaboo of the Argonaut franchise and the existence in Toronto, wherever we played our ball, from exhibition to Skydome / Rogers Centre to BMO Field. This is just the nature of that particular city. Even in Montreal, when the Als have a game, the Als have a game. And for as big a city as Montreal is, it does not quite have those same distractions as Toronto does. Toronto's a very unique market that way, and it's always been a tough nut to crack. But to everybody's credit, they understand that as Toronto goes, and its strength. If you can keep them strong, everybody else will to fall into
It just seems to be a constant struggle. I've gone to a few games. I was at a game earlier this year against the Blue Bombers. What I like, though, is it seems like there's more younger people coming to games now, because that obviously the dinosaur audience, like me and older, they can't sustain that. They need to get that younger audience. And like my daughter's boyfriend, Dan, who you met, he's a huge Argo fan, season tickets, loves going to the games. They really need to continue that. And, we've had Mike Hogan, Hoagie, on the show many times. And I just hope that younger audience continues to build. But you're right. There's so many distractions in Toronto. It's hard. It really is hard.
And I think that's where Stuart Johnson is doing a very good thing, because where he comes from as a former president of TSN, who is the largest partner of the CFL, he knows he doesn't have to go through a warming up process and an understanding process of the CFL's connection with TSN, with television, with marketing, with fans in the stands, with what it looks like on TV, with demographics, with clicks. He has already got that down on lock. So now he's got the benefit of being able to come in here with his feet hitting the ground and say, let's make the impact now, rather than having to talk to everybody and go visit all 9 cities and wait until the Grey Cup has come around and then have a few more chats in the off season and then maybe start slowly and try to get friends and what. That's not an issue right now for him. I think, in his own specific way, is every bit as much of a fan and invested in this league from a different standpoint, from a corporation standpoint, who this league is one of TSN's absolute major properties on Thursday Night Football and Friday Night Football and weekend and stuff like that. This is near and dear to his heart, and he knows what he's always wanted to do to see this thing move forward. And now he's in a position where he's empowered to do so. And, to his credit, he's done so without touching the very, very tender components that make this game unique. The ratio, that's not changed. Which I think, again, if any of those things would have been touched, you're right, I'd have been concerned. But all those things which are at the very backbone of what makes this game unique, none of that's there. We've just kind of manipulated things, like we've manipulated the ball before, like we've manipulated the distances before. That's not going to change. And the goalposts, sure, there's going to be moving them out. People are going to say, "Well, my God, that looks like an NFL field." Not when you see the width, and not when you see the NFL linebackers come up here and struggle to try to cover, or running backs sideline to sideline, and they're saying, "I can't do it. I can't do it."
And I know we talked about it earlier, but just making that field goal down to the 20-yard line for a 42-yard or whatever it is, that is going to be a new, unique Canadian thing.
Yeah,
where you got to add 15 yards instead of 10 yards, right?
Without question. And selfishly and egotistically, I've always believed that Canadian kickers were stronger and better than their American counterparts, mostly because of the angles that we have to deal with the wider hash marks. And back in the day, a 28-yard field goal from the right hash was no guarantee, because you're looking at uprights that look like that to you,
right?
Based on a visual perspective, right? Because of that hash mark. And I went down to the NFL in 1991 and 1990, and I've kicked in Dallas Stadium, I've kicked in Bill Stadium, I've kicked in Atlanta, and when the hash marks and the goalposts are there, so long as you hit the ball straight, you can't miss.
Right.
Like, too damn easy.
That's your Scott Norwood, but
you need a skill to play up here, right?
Yeah, exactly. What's wrong with my Argos this year?
Oh my goodness.
Quarterback. Arbuckle's played well.
A lot of injuries. No
pressure. Arbuckle has done everything he possibly can.
Yeah.
His numbers are outstanding. His numbers are
he's been unbelievable.
Of a playoff bound team. So absolute credit to him for what he's been able to do. And he hasn't fall backwards into just sort of the dink and dunk, protection, don't blow anything kind of thing. He's not afraid to let his playmakers, Kelsey when he was healthy and everybody, to get up there and do things. So I will give him credit for that. Argos, I think they've been a victim of some decision-making gaffes that probably, should not have been made in retrospect. And admittedly, quite often you hear afterwards in retrospect, oh, we might have done this, we might have done that. Well, you need to be proactive and not do that in advance, right?
How does the coach get stupid one year than the next? Like, you know what I mean?
I don't.
Okay. You know what? I have to say this. I love the Argos. They've given me my career. They've given me so much in my life. But sometimes in life, the best team doesn't always win a championship.
Very true.
Okay, and last year might have been a tremendous example of that. And I'm going to get in massive hot water for saying this, but it's I've been on the wrong end of it. I've been on the end where, man, we clinched the Eastern Final and watch Hamilton, have to suffer in a semifinal, whatever, and we're sitting pretty. We just have one game to get to the Grey Cup, and we're 21-point favorites in Hamilton. And next thing you know, 3.5 hours later, we're going, what channel is the Grey Cup on? Because we're going to watch. Like that happens. That's the essence of the game, and I think that kind of happened to Winnipeg last year because that's a situation where and so Toronto wins last year, and winning doesn't necessarily create complacency, but sometimes you may think that you're a little bit more put together than you actually are, and that sense of urgency isn't there because hey, we're defending champions. Who's going to tell me what we need to do and what we're short of right now? It's hard to step back and have this and this and this still need to be addressed if you want to get yourself back there again, right?
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, you look at the situation that the Argos find themselves in, Lance, and last year they win. And I think that, yeah, you're right. Not a complacency thing, but I think that maybe they forgot about the struggle that it took for them to get there. I mean, you look back at the 16-2, you're one of the best teams of all time in the regular season. They end up tripping over. They completely stubbed. They almost chopped their toe off against Montreal. And then they turn around, they're able to win it again. And 2 times now they've won the Grey Cup. And this leads me into my next question. Under Ryan Dinwiddie, who is, a really interesting guy. I think he's good for the league. He's very fiery. We saw that situation, Clarkey, which I'm sure you were a big fan of, where he got all fired up at the Elks.
Against the Elks, yeah, exactly, yeah.
When you look at a guy like that, like, you've won a Grey Cup with this franchise, you know what it's like and what it takes to win and what kind of relationship the coach needs to have with the players to achieve something like that. When you look at a guy like Ryan Dinwiddie, what do you think of him and his impact so far on the franchise? Because it's already been pretty significant.
Without question. I mean, he's leaving his imprint on the team, and a lot of the way they perform and a lot of the way they react in situations are a reflection of the kind of head coach that, and I'm not there. I'm not there on a daily basis. I don't know how he's in meetings. I don't know how he is in practices. We see a very, very small percentage of what he's like in live game action when a coach has got an awful lot on his plate, an awful lot going on, and things can get very emotional because football is an emotional game. And especially if you were a former player, and especially if you were a former quarterback, there's so much passion going through your blood. And because you've been in those situations and you see what's happening, you're not sort of the Andy Reid kind of coach who's just kind of sitting back and analyzing what's happening and trying to make decisions, and the Pete Carrolls of that. Brian Dinwiddie is still very much a very passionate, active kind of guy. So it's a very, very tough balancing act for him to be able to go through there, keep that energy alive with the players and with himself and with his own coaching staff, and yet be able to be detached and make the important decisions at the important times. There's so much going on. There's so many things in his head. There's so many people talking to him. There's people, talking, and I'm guilty of that. So with the, with the replay situation. Hey, should I be calling a challenge in this situation or not? I mean, he's got so many things to deal with right now. Being a head coach is not for the faint of heart. There's no two ways about it.
No, I mean, that's certainly very true. I do wonder, on the topic of, the best team doesn't always win. We saw another, like you said, perfect example of that last year. I think that a lot of people had the sharp money on the Blue Bombers, who are another team that have, they have recent Grey Cup success, and they've gone to the final a number of times in a row now. I mean, they are a powerhouse in the West, which is, in my opinion, nice to see, because they went through a lot of dark times too, like through the 2000s and even the early 2010s. It's great to see that program turn around into what it's become. As we sit here today, Lance, it's September 24th. If you were to put the sharp money down on who you think is going to end up being the Grey Cup champion this year, who would you be pushing your chips in on right now?
It's Saskatchewan doesn't disappoint week after week. I'm not saying that they're world beaters. I'm not saying that they're crushing everybody, but I don't see them laying too many eggs. And I think that's the kind of situation as the season gets toward the end. You look at a team like that and you say, okay, they've got that thing that'll get them not only into the playoffs, but through the semifinal, through the final, into the Grey Cup, and then it's anybody's match. But I think they may be one of the most overall in terms of their depth, in terms of what their running game looks like, in terms of their quarterbacking, in terms of their defense, especially. They seem to have the best combination right now, September 24th, of what's going on. Now we're only 3/4 of the way through the season. A lot can happen in these final, 4 or 5 games kind of deal. So we have to see about that. But at this point of the game, what team is to me the least likely to implode? And that might be the direction I would go.
Yeah, the Mean Green Machine. That's a mean football team. They just play good, sound Canadian football, and they don't make a lot of mistakes either. Absolutely. Not a lot of turnovers, and they just play real solid football, and they're mean. They hit you hard. I like that. Clarkey?
Well, I just wanted to do a little reminiscing with Lance.
Please.
Oh, boy.
We go back to the early 90s when I worked
sure
at the Fan. Lance was a kicker, of course, with the Argonauts. We had a hockey team that was like the Argos and the Fan 590 against the Ticats and Y95. We saw not only battles on the field between the Ticats and the Argos back then, but also on the ice. There were some crazy players on both teams when it came to the I remember like Mike Campbell, big man, and Richard Nurse for the Tiger Cats. Those were special times, weren't they? And like playing hockey in an off season, I don't think that happens nowadays.
And you know what? The CFL was just so fantastic with that. And then I would go back to Edmonton in the off season sometimes, because I was born and raised here. And I went back to University of Alberta to get my teaching degree after I got my English degree at University of Toronto. And while I was at U of A, I would go to the Butterdome at U of A and to their sports facility, kick into the nets. Who's over there? Oh, Gizmo. He's running sprints. Hey, can I shag some balls for you? Absolutely. Can we do this together? Next thing you know, I'm playing hockey with the Elks, with Eskimos at that time, with their charity team, playing basketball with them. And it didn't matter that I was I was an Argonaut. That was fine. We were all part of the same league. We all had the same passion. We all wanted to see people cheer. Somebody comes up to me and apologizes and says, "Hey, I'm a Green Riders fan. Sorry about that." I said, "Thank God you're a football fan in Canada. Right. God bless you. Wear that green and gold, put that watermelon on your head, and I'll see you at the game. I'm just so happy to see you." Right. And we all had that, and especially as Canadians, like Clarkey, the guys you're talking about, guys who grew up here, who grew up playing hockey, who still have their skates, and you give us 15 minutes, we will be in the car with our kit right now. That every single one of us, whether or not we can actually stay on the skates for more than 15 minutes, God knows, but we will have our stuff and we're ready to go. And that's still part of our soul. That's still part of our hearts. And the bonding and the opportunity to get together, and we used to have road trips. Remember heading out west for hockey road trips. That was crazy.
But the battles were like just on the football field. Like these guys wanted to win no matter what it was, even if it was a charity game. They wanted
a lot of
to
high
win.
elbows.
And I remember, like, we played a game in Hamilton, and the stands were packed. They were hanging off the rafters in the games when we played, and it was a lot of fun. And then I also want to ask you, you won Grey Cups. You did a lot of kicking. What was your most memorable moment in a single play in the CFL?
Other than running down Gizmo for 118 yards and the 97.
Well, that could be it.
And I should say, pardon me, the 87 Grey Cup. Yeah. Bottom line, this thing comes with its own story, of course, right? In Winnipeg, the coldest Grey Cup on record, -17 to kickoff. Yeah. All of that was unbelievably special. Individual moments, individual kicks made, lots of stories about, how and when and where those kicks were made and what situation was. And I remember, I think it was in 87 when we were still at the old exhibition stadium. And at that point I had gone 5 for 5, and we were in a knockdown, drag him out thing to try to, last game of the season, to try to guarantee first place against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers so that we could have the bye into the Eastern Final. And Combridge Holloway managed to get me into field goal range, and I was already 5 for 5, and it was a 52-yard field goal, and I hit it and put it right over top of the goalpost, about 15 yards deep in the end zone. We were down by 2, missed the kick. It got called wide. Guy kneels down for a point, with only about a minute and 2 left. And I come to the sideline. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm 5 for 6. I should be happy, but I'm gutted right now, for missing that kick. And Bob Obilovich comes over to the sideline, and he says to me, "Lance, you told me you could make that." I said, "Opie, I put it over the upright from 52. It's not an issue of distance, right? I just didn't get the call." "Well, you shouldn't be that far away from the middle." Yes, you know what, Coach, you're right, 100%. Next thing you know, we get 2 and out. Boom, Combridge Holloway, 2 more passes. Ball's back this time. Last play of the game, it's a 55. Career long, never done it before over there. Obi looks at me. "You gonna do it this time?" "Yeah, I got it, Coach. I got nailed it. Last play of the game, nice. Game of the season. Get the Eastern Final. Go into the Grey Cup. Go to the Grey Cup in BC Place, where we made the tragic mistake in that 1987 game of dominating the game for 3 quarters, and then Glenn Kalka, our spectacular Canadian defensive tackle, who grew up 4 houses away from me, right here in Edmonton, 4 houses down the street, where my father coached both of us playing soccer growing up. Kalka goes and absolutely lambastes Matt Dunnigan and knocks him into tomorrow. Now it's 3 quarters through the Grey Cup game. We've knocked out their starting quarterback. We're up by 11 points. We got this. Their backup quarterback's got to come in. Damon Allen, you still owe me a Grey Cup ring.
Oh, no.
Yeah,
no.
Okay. That's a tough one.
Now, I want to ask you this, because I did some Googling. Lance Chomyc. And tell me about the decision in Hamilton, I think it was in 1990. I hope you remember this play. The missing fake, I don't have my tea. This is an amazing play, and we're going to put it over when we put this show on the air if Ryan can do that, but it's an amazing play.
Oh, my goodness gracious. So this was concocted by the late Don Matthews, and this was nothing but theater. The whole point was for this to be theater, and this had to be against Hamilton. Who would it hurt the most? Exactly. It would hurt the Ticats the most. B, it had to be in Hamilton. So we spent the entire year practicing this one play for only one situation. It had to be against Hamilton. It had to be in Hamilton. The kick had to be at a hash mark opposite from our sideline. And in the old Iverwin Stadium, the Hamilton Tiger Cats were over here. The visiting team, us, were over here, and we were going this direction. So the field goal had to be on the left hash mark in order for this play to work. So all these things had to kind of be into play. The most important person in this entire fake was our assistant equipment manager, who is now the vice president of marketing for the Toronto Argonauts, Jason Calero. Suey, at that time, he was the most important person in this entire sense of theater. So we line up for a field goal, say maybe about a 44-yard field goal or so from the left hash, and our bench is on the far opposite side. I go out there without the kicking tee, and John Congemi was our quarterback, and we trot out, and we're pretending like we're setting up for the field goal. And then John Congemi and I have to do this Alphonse and Gaston routine. I got the tee. No, did you bring the tee? No, you bring the tee. It's your damn tee. Where the hell's the tee? Lance, go over there. Go find the tee. Now, the most important part was not us arguing, and we had to argue loud enough that the Hamilton players could hear us arguing about who's got the tee. But then the offensive line were all in on it. And Dan Ferroni, in a 2-point stance, stands up with his hands on his hips and looks at, damn kickers, they got one job to do. And he's talking, I think it was Jason, I'm trying to remember on the other side of a line. Pardon me?
I can't remember.
On the Hamilton D line says stupid kickers. Like he's only got one job to do. And meanwhile, I'm running to the sidelines, 100% parallel to the line of scrimmage, screaming, who's got the tee? Where's the tee? Jason Calero, the equipment manager, he is standing there with the tee, waving, I've got it. Clock is ticking down, right? I've got it. And when Jason, at 3 seconds, Jason puts his hand like that with the kicking tee, points it down the field, and I break off down the sideline. And Jimmy takes a snap. There's nobody within 20 yards of me. The gentlest little pass in the whole world, 22-yard pass reception. I'm cradling this thing like it's my only born child, get blown up at the 6-yard line. Eliminating my one hope in life was to convert my own touchdown, because I don't know when that was last happened. And then Pinball went and scored the next play for me. So that was very, very kind of him. But that was the whole thing. One reception for 22 yards in the CFL. The old where's the tee fake, but everybody had to be involved in order to pull this thing off. That was a once in a lifetime.
That was amazing.
Geez, and people complain about the Wildcat formation and all these fakes, illegal formations in the NFL. That's an all-timer. I mean, holy cow. Where's the tee fake?
That was something else. It was crazy. You bet.
Yeah. Incredible stuff. Well, Lance, I mean, you're involved in so many incredible moments throughout your career, and I want to leave you with this because, you know, when we talk to people that have had such an impact on a sport, on a franchise as you've had on the Argos, I mean, the all-time leading scorer, Grey Cup champion, you know, do you ever catch yourself sitting there like looking at that and going, man, an all-time leading scorer, and if you do, what does that mean to you to look back on not only a scoring record in a single season in 1991, which was a magical year, of course, in Argo land, but to sit there and have that type of accolade under your belt for a franchise as significant as the Boatmen? What does that mean to you?
I think there's no question there's a sense of pride and accomplishment that will never leave. I mean, but that doesn't happen without the unbelievable group of guys that I had around me right from day one, from my very first training camp, and looking at Conrich Holloway and Terry Greer inside there, and Jan Carinci, the slot back who held for my very, very first field goal, patting me on the head and said, "Don't worry, kid, you got this." and all these guys looking after me, some scared little kid from Edmonton coming in to try to kick for them. And as we went through all the various evolutions, and then, and then we get towards that 91 team, and, and Matt Dunnigan comes in 90 and 91, and Adam Rita come in, and all of these guys so supportive. Matt Dunnigan knew that I love my golf, and I would always, whenever we had a road game, the day before the game, I'd always find a local golf course in every single city, Ottawa, Regina, Vancouver, wherever. I had never met Matt Dunnigan the first year that he joined the team back then. We're on the bus towards BC Place Stadium. He comes up to me, taps me on the shoulder. I'm going, oh, my goodness gracious. Now, I've been around the Argos for a while, but hey, it's Matt Dunnigan, right? He's our quarterback. And he's brand new here. Taps me on the shoulder. He says, oh, just let you know, I've got your tee time set up for you at the UBC golf course. You're good right after practice. Like, these are the kinds of people, these are the kinds of guys that cared about you, that got you from step one to step next to step all-time leading scorer to step whatever to step wearing this ring. This is what I remember. These are the relationships that I'm the most proud of. And they're the ones who got me. A lot of these scoring records and stuff. Hey, that's good luck and longevity as much as it was skill. To be perfectly honest, right? Yeah, you have to have the right combination of both, and I was pretty fortunate.
And Ryan, I have to tell the story of how we reconnected. So
yes,
Doigie and I and my daughter and her boyfriend Dan,
our friend Ian Doig, yes,
and Dan, we go golfing about a month ago, to a place near me here in Grand Bend called Fire Rock, and Doigie's on the practice green. Of course, I'm not, because that's just the way we are. So he's practicing putting, and I'm trying to make my way over there, and I get stopped by the starter, and the starter says to me, did you lose a bet? And I said, I know what you're trying to do, because I have a Toronto Maple Leaf golf bag, right? And Toronto Maple Leaf head covers. And I'm like, I get it. Just leave me alone. They haven't started the season yet. And then he looks at me and he goes, well, my colleague here would like your hat anyway. And I had an Argo hat on. And I look up, and here's the colleague. And it's Lance, and he's got his name tag, Lance. And I looked up, and I go, Lance Chomyc. I said, I know this guy. It's been probably 30 years since I've seen Lance. And sure enough, we reminisced. And then we were talking for about 5 minutes. And Doigie comes by in the golf cart and says, Clarkey, we got to go. What are you doing? And I go, I'm just talking to an old friend, Lance Chomyc. And Doigie looks and he goes, Lance Chomyc. So Doigie knows Lance too. And it was unbelievable, 10 minutes right there at the golf course. And Lance lives like half an hour away from me, 40 minutes away from me. We're going to see a lot of each other moving forward. It's just awesome.
It was terrific. And Doigie knows me because way back in the day, we always did our training camp in the 80s. We always had our training camp at the University of Guelph. Right across the street from the campus on the north side is the Cotton Fields golf course. Doigie was a head pro at that time. I would go there, try to get on, and I would trade him Argo tickets for a green fee here and there, right? Nice. And so that's how we created our initial relationship. Next thing you know, Doigie and I are speaking at banquets together as I'm retired and doing some motivational speaking and stuff like that. And once every 10 years we happen to cross paths or what have you or whatever. And then this happened to be it. But now Clarkey, who helped me in my initial foray into broadcasting once I'd retired from football in the early 90s. He, helped me with Hogan and the Fan 590 on the Football Sunday programs and doing the Vanier Cup broadcasts and stuff. It was just amazing. What a fortuitous group of friends to reconnect. And I don't think we've wiped the smile off our faces since.
No.
Unbelievable stuff. And it's great to see that old friends connecting. And I mean, typical Doigie, he's always working the angle. He's always got an angle for something. Yeah, that's that short game. Doigie's short
Speaking
game.
of angles, Drury, wasn't there something about Clarkey today that you wanted to mention off the top of the show? I can't quite remember.
Listen, since you bring it up, it is September 24th. That's a big deal around the instigating parts, because it's that good-looking gentleman's birthday over there. Clarkey, what are you, about 50, 55?
Sure.
Look 50, 55.
Yeah, I was 55, but now the CFL I'm 50.
Yeah, exactly. 55 is the new 50, brother.
Yeah,
no, happy birthday,
wish.
buddy. And it's amazing that we've got Lance on the show for the first time on your birthday. I mean, the universe is speaking to us, brother.
That's right. And he's coming back soon, I think, to London. So maybe we can get one game in before the season
there you go.
runs out.
No question. That's going to be on the docket. No question. Guys, it's been amazing. Thank you so much for having me on to the program over here. It's been amazing to talk CFL football with you guys and go over a few of the stories and sense the fact that people are talking about the league right now and in a positive way, you know, in a way that's thoughtful. Not it's like, oh my goodness gracious, who's running out of money, who's folding, where's this new ownership crisis coming? We're not talking about that. We're talking about ways we're growing the football game, and I think that's just absolutely fantastic.
We're going to get you on before the Grey Cup. You're our new CFL insider.
CFL insider.
Absolutely. It's a good title. Lance, like I said, we really appreciate this. And Clarkey's right. You will be back on the show very soon. We got to do a playoff preview with you. It would be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for doing this, my friend. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat about the CFL with you, brother.
My honor, guys.
Absolutely. There he is, our friend Lance Chomyc. So much fun to have that guy on. And Clarkey, like, we're pretty blessed on the show. And I mean, like, you know, so many people from your career. And I mean, I think it on your birthday here, it speaks a lot to you. If I can be cheesy for a minute, it speaks a lot to you, the amount of people that want to keep in contact with you. And it's not because you're old. It's not because you're old. It's because you make an impression on so many people. They want to keep in contact with you, and it certainly benefits the show. It's great to be able, like Lance said, to be able to talk about the CFL in such a positive light, because he's right. Like, you know, you talk about the CFL sometimes and, you know, to people that are casual, and a lot of people, they go, what's going wrong with the CFL? This, that, and it. I think that these rule changes and the recent announcement and the buzz, certainly, that it's, in the very least, even if you don't like the rule changes necessarily, you got to look at the buzz that it's created in a certainly positive light, I would say. I mean, it's done a lot for the league. People are talking about this, man. And, you know, Nathan Rourke, as much as he doesn't like the rules, I think Lance is right in that respect too. If he takes a step back when the season's done, he'll probably respect and understand where we're sitting with that. But, you know, I think it is very positive. One thing that's definitely not positive, though, and I know that you're itching to talk about this. We've got a few minutes left here. The Blue Jays, man, it is tough. And as we record, September 24th, they lost 7-1 to the Red Sox. They got one more against the Sox, and then they wrap up with Tampa. Now I understand what you're doing. I understand what you're doing, and I'm curious to know from people, you know, because look, no one had the Jays here at the start of the year, including you. So is it a failure if they don't win the division?
Well, I think it is, because they were 5 up on September 16th, I think it was. 5 games up on the Yankees. You cannot blow that lead in the last week of the season. We talked to Rob Longley about it, and I gave him a choice of 3 things. Remember? Which one of these 3 things? Would they choke a big lead? Would they lose every playoff game again? I can't remember what the third.
Or miss the playoffs. And they're not going to do that.
Or win the World Series.
Or win the World Series, right. And he said...
To me, they are choking it away. They're choking away a great opportunity to get that bye and get into the second round and maybe win a game or 2. But you can't do it. It just reminds me of 1987 when they blew it against the Tigers. Speaking of which, they're blowing it as well right now.
So that's kind of where I want to get to.
I'm not happy with this team. They're not scoring runs, and they're not pitching, and the bullpen
They've gone cold at a bad time.
But besides all that, they're great.
Now, September 5th, yes, they're up 5.5 games. Everything's looking good. The Detroit Tigers, somebody needs to send a care package down to Tigers fans. Like, get them.
Get Jim Crespin on.
August, we should get Jim on.
Jim's a big Tiger fan, and
I know he is
very quick to announce the Jays' failures. I haven't seen him putting anything on his Facebook lately about the Tigers.
We will have to have him on, because on August 25th, that feels like forever ago, a 12.5 game lead the Tigers had on the Cleveland Guardians. Crazy. On September 24th, while we record this, they are tied.
No,
they both have 85 wins.
Night, didn't they?
Tie it. They are tied now. They are tied for the division lead. I haven't looked at what tonight's game.
No, I think they lost again tonight, man. Cleveland is up on them now.
Okay, so now Cleveland's a game up then because they're playing each other right now.
Correct. Cleveland is a game
and
ahead.
a half games a month ago. Cleveland in that time with the win tonight, as you're telling me, that means that they've gone 20-6 over their last 26 games. The Tigers have gone 7-19.
Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible.
And not only just that,
incredible
with the Guardians, they're about to maybe miss the playoffs. Houston is a half a game behind the Tigers for that last wild card spot.
Yes.
And they play Oakland tonight. So they could be out of a playoff spot, which is really.
And luckily,
really
Oakland
sad.
aren't the pushovers that they've been in recent years. Like, they actually have a pretty good young ball club, and John Fisher will sell all their best players when they're up for a contract anyway, but that's neither here nor there. I want to touch quickly as well, obviously, on the announcement. I know that you're a big fan, and we got to have Jim Cressman on to talk about this too. Automatic balls and strikes. It's coming. It's coming next year. Each team will get 2 challenges. You just tap your helmet. The pitchers and catchers can challenge as well for balls and strikes. The batter can challenge as well. If you get it wrong, you lose that challenge. You get 2 a game. If you get it right, you retain your challenge.
Listen.
What do you think?
Well, what about, you know what I think? It's a long time coming. This had to be in the league a long time ago. But anyway, just look at the last 2 weeks of this Major League Baseball season when it comes to Toronto Blue Jays. We have a play in the outfield where the umpire, Laz Diaz, says,
Okay.
No, listen to me. Let me finish. Okay. It was fan interference, but it was going to be a home run anyway. So it's a home run. I don't think that's the rule. Secondly, there's a catch in center field. Dalton Varsho.
Amazing catch.
Looks like he clearly caught the ball. The third base umpire, who's 380 feet away from it, waves it off. They go to a replay, and they not conclusive that he caught the ball.
Even though, it's in his glove.
Then
that's fine.
The Tuesday night, the last, week of the season here, Tuesday night, ground ball down third. Springer looked clearly fair. Foul ball.
Yep.
The umpire says
foul
ball.
Would have scored 2 runs.
Tonight, September 24th, good day, Vladdy gets kicked out of the game for pointing where he thought the ball was.
Absolutely outrageous that actually might be the one I'm most mad about, that they threw Vlad out for that. That was such a joke.
And then Springer said last night, if they want New York to win the Yankees to get into the playoffs, just tell us now and we won't even play the games.
And you know what? I don't blame George for feeling that way. And I think that, look, we don't have time. We got a couple minutes.
Yeah, we got to go.
We got about a minute. We don't have time to dig into conspiracy theories about the Yankees and it's fixed and this, that, and the other. However, I will say this. I do believe in my heart of hearts that if Aaron Judge hit that ball down the line, it would have been called fair.
Or the home run ball.
The home run ball would have been very different in Yankee Stadium with the short porch. And I also firmly believe that strike would not have been called, that Springer was rung up on, and Aaron Judge would not have been thrown out of the game like Vladdy was for simply pointing and going, "Are you sure about that?" That was a joke. And ultimately, and Jim will probably disagree with me when we have him on to talk about this, the umpires did this to themselves. Technology's come too far. Fans are too attentive with it. The umpires did this to themselves, in my opinion. Anyway,
we gotta go.
We'd love to hear what you guys think.
And I noticed
the videos.
We talked to Lance today. Lives in London now. We are now on Rogers in London.
We absolutely are. Saturdays, I've been told 10 a.m. on Saturdays.
Let's just say 10
Mondays.
Could be 10 p.m.
10 on Saturdays.
Or 10 p.m. Check your local listings.
Check your listings. We're in the London area, and of course, airing on Friday nights in the Owen Sound and Greater Georgian Bay region before Attack Hockey. Kincardine, that whole region. We're on Friday nights at 6. We appreciate you watching, following the show at Instigating Pod on social media, and liking the show, subscribing on YouTube. We really, really appreciate it. This is available on all your favorite podcast apps, our YouTube channel, and our friends at Rogers TV. We will be back next week. You can bet, with more Instigating. We will see you then.